Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Hurdle the Line. This time in collaboration with AAW's very own College Football UK podcast. It's an all AAW affair. With us as your normal co-hosts, joining myself, Fletch, Chapman, and Tom. Gents, have you had a nice Easter weekend?
Very nice. Thank you, Fletch. How about yourself?
Can't complain. Can't complain. Watching an 8-year-old stuff her face with chocolate all weekend and then handing off to her mother as she gets to go back to school tomorrow is one of the great joys of parenting. I'm not gonna lie. Also joining us this week is the debutante member of the Hurdle the Line crew. We have none other than Ballers Meg with us. I can't. I have to. How are you, sir? That's the only thing I know what to say now after a year and a half of doing these things. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. Excited to be here.
Good. You sound it. And then
I
joining
can't
us
believe he called you
alongside
normal.
our Hurdle the Line, Hurdle the Line co-hosts and hosts are College Football UK's very own Nick and Gary. Gents, we should all know who you are by now anyway, but for those who don't, could you give us a quick introduction onto yourselves? Name, team, and yeah, please. Nick, you go first.
Nick, Patriots, Notre Dame, um, yes, College Football UK, Patriots touchback, so they're both AAW, and if Fletch ever needs me, I'm in reserve for Hurdle the Line anyway, so pretty much across the network.
Yeah, Nick is a jack of all trades and master, obviously, of all of them. Gary, do you want to give
Good
us a
save.
quick?
Good save. Good save. Yeah, my name is Greg Harry Thorpe. My name is, you can see my handle there. It's Groovy. I'm all over the AAW on college football. Seminole fan for my sins after last year. Yes, I know. Thank you. It's enough. And also a 49ers fan. So I'm also part of the 49ers Faithful UK group over on Facebook and all over that. So nice to be here, boys. Nice to meet the Hurdle Line.
And lady, and
And
lady,
lady, and
And
lady, I've almost
which
said
we'll
the
have to get
hurdle line
used to. It
boys,
might
but
take
then
us,
I'm kind of like hurdle line.
lads and lady.
And I just realised as well, Meg, just for the again for the benefit of everybody, we'll hopefully give you another chance to do this on a future date next time you're with us. But just a quick, who you are and your NFL team. If
So Meg, Falcons fan through and through.
Woo!
Bulldogs fan as well.
Oh
Uh,
no.
so yeah, and then I'm a TikToker more than a podcaster at the minute, but obviously that is changing, joining the AAW network. So yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more
love it.
pleased to have you, Meg, especially from this corner of the world.
Loved it. Love it.
Except for you're a Celtics fan, but we can forgive that. It's
Hey,
you know.
we've all got our vices, okay?
Oh no, you picked a winner. Okay.
Love
One out
it.
of three ain't bad.
So we've got a big episode, as you can tell, with the collaboration, and the draft is on Thursday night. So we've got this big episode. So we're going to fly through a couple of little bits of news. The only things I could find this week were 49ers offensive tackle Isaac Alcaron has been suspended for 6 games for violating the performance enhancing substances policy, one which I, as a Lions fan, know all too well from over the last couple of years. We have been hit with this one. Um, I didn't see the list, so I didn't see anyone else. I just saw the 49ers name. Was there anyone else on it?
Third string tackle, I think he is, but yeah.
Yeah. Did anyone know if anyone else was on it? Anyone of note? No? Cool.
No.
Also today, the day of recording, it was released that Eagles offensive tackle Cam Jurgen has signed a 4-year, $68 million deal, making him the second highest paid. No, he's not offensive tackle,
Centre,
he's
isn't
a
he?
center. Um,
Yeah, he's the linchpin of the tush push.
yes. So yeah, he's just signed a 4-year, $68 million deal, making him the second highest paid center
Still not
of
better than Creed
all
Humphrey.
time. Well, that's the pay reflects that, doesn't it? Though he's still behind Creed Humphrey in pay, and this next one is just for Chapman. I promise Chapman. We've not done it in a while, ladies and gentlemen. We have a helmet headline.
Oh,
We
Oh,
have a helmet headline. Before the episode, we got a message. Chapman was like, "Do we have to do news?" I'm like, "Yes, I have." I didn't tell him why, but I said I have a helmet headline. We cannot not do news. The NFL has approved 7 new models of helmet after testing throughout the year, to raise the standard for helmet performance. Now, I'm not going to go into depth on all of these different helmets, but the helmet headline, 7 new helmets in the
Well,
NFL
now that
this
I'm
year.
officially in on the joke, helmet performance is very important. So I'm glad that the NFL is doing its due diligence.
I think we
I'm
can all
so
agree.
glad that we
We can
covered
all
the
agree on this.
performance and the depth being important of the
And
helmet.
I'm really glad we did this on our first podcast with our new
Safety first, right?
female member of our.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that Chapman, you participating in it now as well. It's
group. So, yeah.
It's my
Wow.
favorite. Anyway, we have our first. Gary, Nick, you will know, well, any of you who did listen to college football podcast last week, we've had no entrance for the new name for the thing. So I'm going to throw it out to the group first, right? The name Asleep at Work, first round snake mock draft. First annual Asleep at Network.
So you can't even say the
Yeah,
name. You
32,
can't.
full 32 snake mock draft.
That's how
We need a catchy
catchy it
name
is.
for it. We need a catchy name for it, right? What should we call this thing? Because we're going to do it every year. What are we going to call it? Because I can't be doing this every year.
Can't be doing it. You got to
Multiple
call it hurdle the football, right? It's going to have to be hurdle the football because it's hurdle the line in college football. So for a start, that's got to be where we're calling it.
I mean,
Silence. I mean,
there's-
nobody dissented, so I'm taking that, right? But the whole snake mock draft first thing, it's got bin now, surely.
Yeah, we said this last week, didn't we? We said that this is like the passing of the a year's worth of work from the college football to the hurdle the line. You know, have our year's work. Here you go.
There you go. Look at the draft board that we've spent hours poring over for you guys to pick up on.
You know.
Well, when I say we, I mean Nick.
I wish you'd send it to Tom when we were doing our draft on the Discord.
I can't wait for that one. So, just as an introduction to our listeners, what we've done is there are 8 people who took part. We've gone, well, foot on order, and as most of you will know from fantasy football drafts, we've done it in snake order. 1 to 8, 9 to 16. What we're going to do is each person is going to get the opportunity to get up and announce their pick. We drafted throughout last week in our own Discord. Everyone, well, got through the full 32. Everyone's going to get a chance to now announce who their pick was. They've got 30 to 45 seconds to justify or just provide the reasoning for that pick. Some will be easier than others. After every round of 8 that we have, we're going to have a chance to kind of discuss where we're at. And just going off the way some of the conversations went in the Discord channel this week, hopefully have some couple of interesting discussions come out of them. The order will be Nick, Tom, Fletch, Sam, Gary, Chapman, Ollie, and Meg. A couple of them are not with us. We will get opportunities. A couple of you may just have to announce someone else's pick. You don't have to reason or justify somebody else's pick if you don't want to. Just say it and move on. Hopefully, 1 or 2 of them join us in very soon. Sam tends to join a little bit later on just because of family commitments, which is okay. So, with that in mind, I know we're all where we're at with it. Hopefully the people at home are too. If you aren't, don't worry. You'll figure it out as we go.
It'll all make sense as we go through.
So, I think we need to begin.
Also, before we start, can I just clarify? We're not going to say in the 2025 AAW Snake Mock first round draft, right? We're just going to say the pick, right? Because we're never going to get through it for Chapman before he has to leave at the top of the hour.
That's fine. Okay, so it's my absolute
point very well made.
as both a commissioner and a GM in this draft. But as the commissioner for this week, it is my pleasure to open the 2025 AAW first round 32 full 32 snake mock draft. See, rolls right off the tongue there, Gary. Right off the tongue.
Absolutely.
My pleasure to declare it open and put Nick. You're on the clock, my friend.
I'd love to string this out and say it's a hard decision. It's not. With the first pick of the AAW mock draft, I'm going to cut it short. The Tennessee Titans select quarterback Cam Ward from Miami.
Good pick.
No brainer.
Of course it is. I made it. I mean,
Okay.
And the Tennessee Titans should also make it, by the way. I mean,
Yes.
this, I think, consensus across the board is that's the only pick viable at this point in
Otherwise,
time.
you're going to see plenty more of Will Levis highlights of being thrown into the other
No,
team.
there's not enough mayonnaise for that.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, next up, Tom.
Yes, so with the second overall pick of the AEW draft, the Cleveland Browns select Travis Hunter. I mean, there's not that many ways to describe it. He is him, basically, I guess. But yeah, I mean, generational talent, both sides of the ball. Hopefully, the team actually allows him to play both sides of the ball as well. I mean, there's a reason why he won the Heisman. So something the Browns desperately need is, playmakers and explosive playmakers, and he is that to a T. So
Perfect. 10 seconds left. Chapman, I know you've been desperate to do this. You love keeping me in check. Do you want to do my 45 seconds or do you want me to hold myself to
Go
it?
right ahead, man. I'll be counting.
Okay, no worries. With the third pick, the New York Giants select Abdul Carter. Now, this was a no-brainer as well as the first two. These three are the top three picks in the draft. It all just depended which order they went. The Giants don't necessarily need a quarter. There was one player who could have snuck into the top three. But the Giants don't need a quarterback, and for the next few teams, do not slip. Do not need a quarterback. Abdul Carter is by far the best player left on the board. It's not close, potentially the best player in the draft, at least at one specific position. And it's a no-brainer to have Abdul Carter at this point. If I'm Giants, I'm running that pick in.
Yeah, that is not taking long. That is not taking long to go from you're on the clock to put the pick in, right? That's one of those ones where it's just like, just send it.
Yeah. Next up, we had Sam.
With 2 seconds left to go, Fletch, I'm very proud of you.
It's only going to go downhill from here. Sam. Sam's pick, he had the New England Patriots and he took Will Campbell, offensive tackle from LSU. And that then puts Gary on the board.
Well,
I
let
think this
Nick
is
talk about that for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
at
just a
least.
second. I was going to
Okay.
ask Nick, how do you feel about picking up Will Campbell? I know ideally you'd have traded well out of the number 4
Yeah,
spot,
I mean, ideally, I would look at trading back there, but we're not trading, so it leaves me in fourth. I don't have much confidence in Membu transitioning from right to left. We saw what happened to JC Latham last year, trying to transition from right to left. It didn't work. So rather than risk Membu, who's probably a better tackle than Campbell, I would rather stick with a left tackle. So if I can't trade back, then yes, I would be selecting Will Campbell at 4 also.
Yep.
Lovely.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
And then that moves on to you there, Gary.
Fifth pick, Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the first 3 picks were a no-brainer. I think this pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars is also a no-brainer. They're taking Mason Graham, the defensive tackle out of Michigan. He's a run stopper. He can play 3 downs. He's going to shore up that defense. They lucked out, obviously, with Brian Thompson Jr. last year in the draft, so they need to focus on their defense. This is, again, one of those picks that Jacksonville do not take the full 10 minutes. Just send it in. Everyone knows who you're taking on this point. Just get it done.
Lovely. That then moves us on to Chapman.
With the 6th pick, Las Vegas Raiders take Ashton Genty, running back, Boise State. This was the Heisman runner-up. I think there was a lot of consensus that the Raiders should maybe think more about the defense here because of the players on the board. But I think they need to make their offense their identity and not their defense because of the division they're in. And even though Pete Carroll, as their new coach, is a defensive coach, I think this is just a no-brainer pick. He's the best offensive player outside of Travis Henry in this draft. And you can get him here. He can change. He can do a lot of things for Geno, who's, a very good above average quarterback. But now you got Bowers. Now you got Genty. You're adding some weapons to that offense. I think it could be some really exciting football in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it makes defenses think a little bit, doesn't it? Because, you look at it and you go, Geno and Bowers, and you think, oh, okay. And then suddenly you go, oh, hang on, they got Genty as well. Now we got to think a little bit about it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Passing on
Chapman,
to Ollie. You want to do that?
do you want to announce Ollie's pick for us, please, Chapman?
Yeah, sure. At number 7, the New York Jets take Armand Membuo. I can't say his name.
Mimbo.
Offensive tackle.
Mimbo.
Yeah, he's got a great name, and I cannot pronounce it. Offensive tackle, Missouri. I don't have a lot to say about this guy. I know he's very good. I know this is a good pick for them. Anybody have any input on this up from the college pod?
No, I would say it's a solid pick. The Jets need to either go tackle or
They
wide
need
receiver.
trenches. They need
Yeah,
trenches.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if they weren't gonna go Membu, then maybe tight end at Tyler Warren would be something they'd look at. But I think Membu's still on the board at 7. They need that offensive line help, so I would say it's a pretty solid pick.
Especially when you consider who's playing under center for the Jets this year. I can't actually.
Yes.
Who is it now? Winston?
Just
Oh,
No, it's
Wilson?
Fields.
It's
Fields.
Fields.
Field. There you
Justin
go.
Fields.
There you go. Yeah,
Winston,
they definitely need a trench guy. They need somebody up front. It's a good pick. It's a solid pick.
Winston and Wilson went on to the other side of New
The
Jersey.
other side of New York. Yeah.
yeah, that's gonna be a crazy combination.
And finally, for the first chunk, we've got Meg. You're up next.
So with the 8th pick, the Panthers pick Mikael Williams, defensive end from Georgia. The Panthers need help across the board. I think Bryce Young raised his game at the end of last season massively. That last game when he remembered how to win, seemed the offense seemed a little bit more promising than the defense side for me. Just obviously they're divisional rivals. I've got my eye on them anyway. I think that Mika Williams, to be fair, isn't getting enough credit for where he's at. And I'm not just saying that as a Bulldogs fan, by the way. I'm saying that just because watching the guy and seeing the talent that he's got, he deserves to be picked early on. And I think he'll do really good things wherever he ends up. So that is my reasoning there.
Lovely. So, like I say, we're on the first quarter of the way through the draft. Are we happy with the way it's played out so far? Is there anyone who would have gone particularly different? I'm noticing the absence of a specific name here. I'm not going to
I don't
say who
think
it
so.
is. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
I don't
say
think
who
so.
it is.
I think the way it's rolled, I think will be the sensible thing. The Giants is possibly the only one that people are questioning, but with Abdul Carter on the board, if you don't take Abdul Carter at that point, you are in for a rough time in New York. You've
I
already
think
had
it's
a
more the
bad year.
Patriots, to be fair. I mean, as Nick said, I mean, they'll probably trade back from that pick. I mean, if they stay,
But they're what? Who's trading up for that? Who's trading up?
There's
Yeah,
there's
who's
nothing
Yeah,
out for. There's
it
nothing
depends
out
what
for
you're
that's
looking at,
good
because
enough,
you
right?
in
could
theory.
say, for example, you could see possibly Chicago trading up for Gentry if they want, because they need a running back.
If they think the Raiders are going to take him, yeah.
What about
Yeah,
the Colts?
so-
Could the Colts potentially trade up with Anthony
I can't see the
Richardson
Colts
being-
wanting to move from where they are. I think the big trades for the Patriots are, if Chicago want Gentry, they have to beat
The Raiders, yeah.
Raiders. If that doesn't happen, and Gentry does go, if Gentry's
Gentry.
not on the
Genty, there's no R. Yeah.
on the choice, I think whether the Raiders go with Tech-Mac rather than that. And again, if someone's desperate for Mason Graham, they've got to get ahead of the Jacksonville Jaguars to get him.
Yeah.
So
I think it's
I think it's a possibility that there are some trade partners, but I don't think there'll be a lot of depth.
Not enough.
It sucks being in like that 4, 5, 6 spot. I mean, and the Falcons a few years ago when they took Pitts, they should have just taken. So they should have just taken an offensive lineman or defense. And I think it sucks. It's not fun. It's not sexy, but honestly, it's the best. It's the best vitamins for your team long term, especially with, you got your quarterback last year. Stick and take the best lineman
What's
there.
there?
I think it's
best that's there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think hopefully Variable will, well, and I don't know who your GM is now, but Variable will do that. Because I just don't think there's going to be a ton of trades, because I think the best thing to do with Shador, unless there's somebody outside of that, because I think he's going to the Saints at 9.
Yeah,
I think you just wait and pick him. I don't think he's somebody that anybody's going to trade up for. But again, Bo Nix went in the top 10 last year, so what do I know? Like, or whatever it was. I forgot how many
11.
picks he went.
Didn't he go 11?
He
12.
went 11. Yeah,
12,
sorry,
11, 12 to the
Anyway,
Broncos. But
Oh,
yeah.
seems a great pick now in hindsight, right?
and to this day, I still find it funny. We all laughed at DJ when he put that pick in last year's version of this at 12, and now and
Very
then
true.
he was the one laughing at the end of it. No, I
So
completely.
the only thing I would like to ask is the only thing I want to ask is Meg, why you chose Mikael Williams over Jalen Walker?
Mm-hmm.
Because Jalen Walker covers two positions of need for
Need for
Carolina.
Panthers. Yeah.
So why did you have them taking one position over two?
To be honest, not really sure. Not a specific reason.
Bulldog, was that Bulldog bias, you think?
Maybe a little bit Bulldog.
Oh, they're
bias.
both Bulldogs, so it doesn't
yeah,
matter.
they are. But to be fair, in my personal mock draft, that's the order I've done it as well. I've done Mika Williams and then Jalen Walker. Not any particular reason. I did a bit of research
enough.
based on him. Watching the combine, looking at just my personal opinion on it. I think, obviously Walker's got the kind of double string to his bow there, but it doesn't mean he's better at either position.
No, it doesn't.
No.
Okay, cool.
Question about just before we jump on, do you think if Hunter gets taken second, do you think the Browns risk playing in both sides of the ball?
I mean, I think they have to.
Yeah,
I think if you're not going to draft, if you're
going to draft him, you're playing.
then you might as well not draft him.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is because you can make him either you make him a wide receiver and then you have him as a and then you can carry another cornerback.
Yeah,
exactly.
As a corner.
There's a lot of So and then you have him come in as packages. The problem for him will be, and this is what everyone's talked about, is like there's so much game planning and information during the week. Like where in college, it's there is that, but it's not to the degree that there
not to the degree that they're going to have
he's going to have to learn
packages for specific receivers, and he's going to be out there.
I think he's going to be great. I mean, I think he'll play like Dion. I mean, Dion was a defensive player, and then he would go out and he could, return kickoffs and punts, and then he came in on certain weird packages on you have plays, or he's a decoy, whatever that is. So that's how, but who knows? I'm interested to see.
Yeah, me too.
Who's going to throw in the ball though? That's what's going to be fun.
Yeah,
I think
Cleveland.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Joe Flacco, right? Old man Joe. It'll be fine.
Maybe Kirk Cousins.
Maybe Kirk on a $10 million deal.
I'd also say though,
although the Falcons want whoever takes Kirk to pay 20 of the 45 that I saw that came out like today.
Well,
it's called negotiating.
Yeah.
We need something back for Kirk.
They would like somebody to pay that, whether or not they'll get anybody.
Yes, very true. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it out there. So I was gonna say one of the other things I think is gonna be Travis Hunter's problem is it's what makes him so good, but also could be his is just how keen he is and how regimented he is to no, I will play. I will do both sides of the ball. I will continue. Some teams going to have to sit him down and really try and because he'll be itching to get on at every snap. And again, it's what makes him his pure
But what's he better at,
just...
Fletch? Is he better as a wide receiver?
I think he's a better corner. I think he's a better corner. He is, and
he plays wide receiver like a cornerback. He high points the ball. He plays it. He's got that.
The difference is most DBs can't catch the way they.
No, he's got good hands. He's got very good hands, and he catches with his hands, not his body.
So there are ways, and to be fair to him, Deion Sanders explained. Deion said this a couple of times. Like you need to look at certain stats and what they mean, rather than stats being big. So if if a corner doesn't have so many tackles, more often than not, that means they're not being targeted. When they're not being targeted, that normally means that they've covered up. Their guy's covered and they're not a viable target. So there are certain stats that he's got that don't necessarily pop out on paper that actually, to be fair, show him that he's to be better, to be a better corner, because he's not seeing the targets, because he's covering guys up. He's making pick sixes. He's jumping in front. He plays corner really, really well. And I would go as far as to say that he's the second best outright corner in the draft. But the fact that he is so keen and so excitable and so keen to just play football is what I think works in his favour so far.
And as you say, Chapman, he'll probably end up on special teams as well because he just wants to be on the field all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Pick number 9.
So pick number 9. We're going to go into the second quarter of the draft, starting with Meg.
So with pick 9, the Aints are picking Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. I could have given them Sanders, but I don't like them, honestly. If you want me to be honest, my reasoning there, again, I think the Aints need as much help as they can get. Sorry, I'm mispronouncing that right. It's the Saints. But
we know what you meant.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, across the board, the Saints have shown that they are just lacking. Full stop. I think that, Tet has shown off decent level of skill at wide receiver. I think of who's left in terms of who could make the most impact for the Saints. Again, I think Sanders is overhyped. Sorry if that's a controversial one. I think McMillan's got a better shot at giving them what they need.
He's a great red zone target.
Yeah,
Problem with the Saints is they can't get to the red zone. So
very true. But we should recap that in the next
yes.
pick.
So would you like to just give us Ollie's pick as well, please?
I would if I had it.
Okay.
Is it the 10th pick? Ollie, the Chicago Bears chooses
I'm going to
Tyler
say Chapman's
Warren.
going next, so Chapman, you drop it, and then you can just go straight into yours if you want. You're on mute.
Groovy just did it, didn't he?
Yeah. Tyler
Go ahead,
Warren.
Groovy.
Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren.
Defense tight end, Penn State, Chicago Bears.
That's a good pick.
It's a good pick. It's a solid pick.
Caleb
The
Williams.
Bears, as you say, Bears need some help.
Yeah.
Cole Kmet's not really lived up to the hype there, and they've got some good receiving core. They do need a running back. You're right.
But it'd be good to have, Tyler Warren is better. So.
Yeah.
I must be the only one in the group that doesn't agree with that pick then, but fair enough.
What?
We'll come back to that.
We'll come back.
And see, we can come back to that. Next up, we have Chapman.
Number 11, the San Francisco 49ers select Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. This was just more of a preference pick. I think they are going to go defense here. I think we're going to start seeing some of these defensive tackles and probably some of these edge players as Meg took one obviously with the Panthers, and I think this is when these start to come. I think this guy, I like the versatility, and I think they like a lot of versatility in San Francisco. Groovy, love to hear what you think about this pick.
Yeah, he's an Eric Armstead type pick. He can play 1 gap, 2 gap, 3 gap. We need that central. Our edges are pretty good. Everyone knows who our edges are, but you double team Bosa. We've got nothing else. We need that middle, and this guy's a great pick. This was my pick. If he's on the board, you're taking him there. As you say, the versatility, the flexibility of playing the 1 gap, the 2 gap. He's a 3 down defensive tackle as well. So.
Cool, Gary, you're up.
So for the 12th pick, the Dallas Cowboys take Josh Simmons, offensive tackle of the Ohio State. I'll just clarify that, Fletch, just because you seem to have a typo on your list there.
I put the nice version in this.
I know you
document.
did. I know you did. And I know there's question marks about Simmons' injury. Set out most of the last season. When he was playing, he was a consensus top 10 pick. I don't think his injury will detract too much. And the Cowboys need help. The Cowboys need to keep their QB upright. This is the only pick that makes sense with Genti gone off the board for the Cowboys.
Lovely. Next up, we have Sam Jones wants to give us Sam's. Gary?
Yeah, I got it. So Sam has at pick 13 of Miami Dolphins taking Will Johnson, cornerback out of Michigan.
Great pick.
Especially with the Jalen Ramsey news.
Yeah,
makes
exactly.
Absolutely a great pick.
Yeah.
Yep. You get
gets younger, gets better.
Next up, at pick 14, we have the Indianapolis Colts taking Jahdae Barron, cornerback from Texas. See, I was in one of two minds with the Colts here. I could have gone one or the other. And one, I didn't want to get called a homer live on air again. Otherwise,
Homer, did you say?
A homer.
Right, just double check.
So at the risk of being called a homer, I reined it in a bit. and said, and just thought, well, the Colts, if they don't need their most glaring need, I guess, is tight end, but also that can be found to a good level further down in the draft. Whereas now we've seen Will Johnson come off the board, I think you start to see, um, well, Will
Panic.
Johnson could have gone earlier, which means I think a corner would and could have fell earlier. Maybe they wouldn't have gone for it, but because such a high level corner in Jade Barron has made it this far, I think you have not much other choice. It's one of the other major pieces of need for the Colts. Jade Barron's still on the board. Again, it's another one of them. Hop, skip, and a jump. Going that
Yep.
with him. And I'll throw it back to Tom with the Falcons.
Oh yeah, here's this controversial pick that Chapman has been eager to get at. So with the 15th overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons select Nick Skoughton. He's a pass rusher. That's something an edge rusher that they've lacked for a while. You know, obviously Grady Jarrett has departed in the off season as well, so it's somewhere on the D line that they need a lot of help with. Joe's got a nasty spin move, uses his quickness and long arms to knock down offensive linemen's hands and win, and his combination of size, strength, and athleticism make him a great addition for the Falcons D line. So that's why I've gone with that pick.
And before we get into questioning a pick, Nick, would you like to end the half and propose it to halfway through the draft, please?
Yeah, pick 16, the Arizona Cardinals. With their 16th pick, they select wide receiver Matthew Golden from Texas.
Do you want to give us your 30 seconds and then...
Yeah, I mean, Arizona's they need wide receiver help, they need defensive end help, so they could go there. They need cornerback help. I would say they're the top three. I think Matthew Golden still being on the board halfway through the draft, he's by far and away, with the top two corners having gone, he's by far and away the best selection. So a habit of need and choice meant that I selected Matthew Golden there.
Lovely. So we're halfway through the first round. Chapman, gloves on, go.
Where do
Oh
we start?
no, it wasn't that bad. Tom got one part of it right. We definitely need an edge rusher there. But I
Not that
don't
one,
think
though.
the Falcons are going to be taking Nick that high. If the Falcons, I think they are a decent trade. I believe that there's not going to be a lot of trades in the first round. Those are obviously going to be famous last words when there's like a record number of trades in the
Yeah,
first
there's
round.
like
You know,
27 of them.
yeah. But
So probably
I think the Falcons, if there are trade, if there's a lot of trade happening, I think they're in a good spot there, especially if Shador is still on the table after the Saints, which he won't be.
That's the
But
one I have.
I just think Mike Green is destined to be the Atlanta Falcons' next edge rusher, and great defensive end edge. Great hope there. I was really interested. Do we really think that the Cardinals are going to go back to back
No.
years in first round taking a wide receiver, especially when there's like, and again, this is going to sound like a homer, but honestly, Malachi Starks is amazing, and
Yeah.
he's still sitting there as a safety, like
No
at a
way.
premium position.
No way.
Yeah,
Not
but
with Buda Baker at the
Arizona
age.
don't need a safety.
Yeah, that's fair.
True, they still got Buda Baker, so
But you got to double down. Strength on strength, man.
I was
They're in
surprised
that-
with Gary with the 49ers pick that you guys weren't looking for a corner.
Yeah, corner's another option there with Shavarius Ward going back home and not coming out, with Salah coming back. It's potential, Lynch likes his defensive tackles and he likes the defensive front. And so, I've got no qualms if we end up picking there again. I mean, it seems to have been our first round pick for any time we had a first round pick apart from the last time. We don't talk about that one. And it seems that in a habit of going defensive tackle, but I would have no qualms whatsoever if we took Johnson.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. If he was on the board, and then
because I mean,
Will
there's
Johnson
some
would be a
good
great pick,
there's
especially in
some
that
good
scheme
defensive
as well.
tackles,
It
but
feels
yeah,
like he would thrive in
he would.
that scheme.
But I also think Meg's wrong with who the Aints are taking at 9.
Yeah, I mean, it
with
should
Derek
be
Carr's
Shador
surgery.
Sanders.
Yeah,
Like,
that's where Sanders goes, right?
yeah, again,
I
like
just
as you
wasn't
said,
giving him
it
them.
should be one
Okay.
of those ones where it's not even a pick. Like, I mean, like you should
Yeah.
think like 1 second. Oh, okay, we need a quarterback, and Derek Carr is not going to play for us this year because it looks like he's out for the whole year anyway. So
Surgery
it's
on his
like,
shoulder. It's just like it's fate, right? It's written.
I mean,
Nobody knew
just
where.
retire at this point if you're Derek Carr. But
To be honest as well though with the Saints, you could go. I mean, yeah, look, Shador's the pick, end of story. But if even if Shador wasn't the pick, even if Derek Carr was healthy, the Saints you could go anywhere. They need someone everywhere, and they
Yeah.
can't afford to pay anyone. So just get any rookie in. I think the Saints could be also again if you weren't in the market for Shador Sanders, which I do think you could still trade back at because no one in that next run of people is going to go for a
Nobody
quarterback.
wants him. No.
If someone wants to trade up, you could get a little bit of value in there, a couple of extra picks, and get some rookies on rookie contracts in there. But you can kind of go anywhere. They need pieces all over on cheap.
They need cheap pieces because they've got just their cap is just hideous.
that's
It's
I
just
also,
normal.
I think with and again, I'm not saying there's going to be loads of trades, but for a while I was kind of set on the fact that Raiders might trade up against
Yeah.
Titans for Shador.
Ooh.
It's something that I've seen a lot of chatter going on in the background, just people that I know speaking, that I'm hearing from the
big
Raiders
splash.
potentially
Vegas,
looking
big Vegas
at it.
splash.
Yeah.
Tell
I
you what,
also
with the Cowboys one as well, you know how because you picked off was it offensive lineman, right? Josh
Yeah.
Simmons.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if it might be a high pick for them, but McMillan or whatever, because you got CD Lamb, who's the yak guy, and then
Yeah.
you get McMillan in the
Yeah.
red
There's a
zone.
red zone.
Like that would
Yeah, that would have been
make
my
so
pick
much.
for the Cowboys if he was on the board, but because they'd
Yeah,
have
yeah.
taken him, it's like, well, okay, I'll take the next person or
Like
the
they
next
definitely
person
need a
of
guard
need.
as well because Zach Martin just retired as well, so like they can get
But
that.
also, much like the Meg said, I could quite easily have given them something they don't need whatsoever just because it's the Cowboys. But I kind of tried to be a little bit more.
Impossible.
Yeah.
Nick, I want to ask you, what's the? I will generally agree with you, but what's the problem with Tyler Warren to the Bears?
I don't have a problem with Tyler Warren as a person, as a player. Definitely the best tight end in the draft. I just think the Bears have two priorities higher: running back and defensive end. Now, like I said, we talked about this when we just touched on Will Campbell. They could go up for Ashton, so that's a possibility. If they're staying where they are, and he's gone, by far and away a defensive end is a much better choice there. Maybe someone like
Jalen
Shamar
Walker.
Stewart, Jalen Walker if he hasn't gone to Carolina, But I think somebody for the Bears at defensive end could be a much better selection than Tyler Warren. But that's nothing against Tyler Warren himself. It's just not the position
But I just wonder
pick.
with how successful Bowers was last year and the hype around Warren, will the Bears snap or will the Bears go, oh, actually, let's take him because he could be the next Bowers?
He's not going to be the next Bowers.
No.
Don't do it.
Different type of player, I know, but
Don't do
I
it.
mean, as a
Right.
priority over tight end, I've got Chicago needing defensive line, running back, safety, and offensive line, all before they need to answer their tight end problem. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying they don't need a tight end. I just think they have bigger needs at
Yeah.
that position. But it's
at
not
10, you
against
don't.
Tyler
At
Warren
10, you're not
himself.
taking Warren. If you're the
Yeah.
Bears, you shouldn't be. You should be taking any of those other players of need. You're not taking.
Wait on the running back, but everything else.
Um,
Gentlemen, and lady, I have to dip out. I'm so sorry. I have a little constraint on time tonight. So
No, we're all going to be blaming. We're
I'll
blaming
do it.
Fletch for that.
I'll have to talk to y'all soon. Have a
Take
good
it
one.
easy,
No
Jack.
Enjoy
worries.
the draft. Bye.
Nice to
See you
meet you
later.
properly.
Before we finish, I want to say as well, there's three players I see here: Totoro McMillan, March, two, Tyrell McMillan and Will Johnson, whom, look, I'm not gonna lie, regularly on a lot of mock drafts see them as top 10 picks. Now, obviously, well, McMillan goes number 9. I've seen him go in the top 5. Will Johnson go in there at 13. I've seen him go on 1 or 2 occasions in the top 6. Normally not in the top 5. I think there's a couple. I'm not going to say steals or outright steals. There's a reason why. Look, players just kind of drop a little bit, players raise a little bit. But there will be a couple of people in there that if the draft falls that way, I'm not necessarily saying that there are a couple. I think hop a skip and a jump into taking that card in, including Will Johnson there at 13 to throw my Michigan boy in there. Is arguably for me, he is the best corner in the draft, and there's a couple of teams up there who I think could have taken him way beforehand.
Yep.
But to get back, we're going to go into the second half of the draft. Nick, you can kick us off if possible, please.
Yeah, Cincinnati with pick number 17. I've got them going for linebackers. You had Campbell out of Alabama. They need a linebacker. The only thing they need on their offensive side of the ball is an offensive lineman, probably a guard. Other than that, it's defensive side of the ball. So
this should be a defensive draft for Cincinnati. They should
yeah,
just
I
draft
think
defense.
if I went on my draft personally, and we touched on Meg's choice at 8, but I think had the board gone how I would have thought, I wouldn't have Jalen Walker available there. So that's why I picked Campbell. But I also think Campbell's, if you're going to play him at linebacker and only at linebacker, I think Campbell's a better pick than Walker. But if you need that two position cover, then Walker is a better pick. But I picked Campbell just basically on the fact that every mock draft I've done over the last 3 weeks has seen me picking Campbell there anyway, so it just felt a comfortable pick.
Yeah.
No worries. Moving on to Tom.
Yeah, so with the 18th pick, the Seattle Seahawks select Tyler Booker. So with this one, prototypical size, guard with elite length and massive hands. His pass protection is better than his run blocking. But obviously with Sam Darnold going over to Seattle, he's someone that thrives when you got good pass protection. He's able to find players down the field. So, having a offensive lineman being able to, protect with that is massive. And he's got elite arm length for an interior player, and he weaponizes that effectively as well. Like he really uses his 34-inch arms.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
got no problem with that pick for Seahawks. Didn't you say with Darnold going there, they need somebody to keep him upright. They've got a pretty decent running back. Boyd going on. His run blocking needs some work, but they can work on that. But they need somebody who can keep their QB upright.
I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, the Seahawks have got 2 good running backs. So I wouldn't be surprised if they could potentially look at trading one of those in the draft. Who knows?
Somebody will take one of those 2.
Yeah, 100% they would.
So, with the 19th pick, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Mike Green, defensive end from Marshall. This one felt like a bit of a no-brainer. Mike Green is one of my favorite players in the entire draft. I wouldn't, just on one of those personal things. I love the way he plays. Absolutely love the way he plays that whole defensive end position. And he's another one of those similar to what's his name last year, who came out of Toledo and ended up going like top 30.
JC Latham.
He's one of those. When you go into like the group of 5 conferences, he stood out above most. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers desperately need edge. That's their biggest position of need going into the draft. And I think, again, with Mike Green falling to them, it's a no-brainer. Though I do want to add that there was a second absolutely beautiful part of this pick, and it almost felt serendipitous making this pick. As Tom picked Nick Scowerton, Chapman screams, Mike Green was right there. So Mike Green will be right there in the NFC South, just
wearing the wrong red.
Michael Penix instead.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I resent that. I'm just saying.
Resent it all you want.
Better.
Then we had with Sam. Sam
Sam.
took Amari and Hampton running back out of North Carolina for the Denver
Yeah,
Broncos.
they
That's a
need running
good
back.
pick. Yeah.
They need running back help. Their running back last year, I can't even. Williams was awful.
Yeah.
They did take Estime in the draft
Yeah,
last
he
year, but
seemed to do all right, to be fair,
he
with the
seemed
limited
to do all
snaps
right.
he
But
got estimated, but
he's
yeah.
a workhorse.
Mm,
Hampton is a game changing running back. He's a good pick
yeah.
there.
I think he reminds me of Kamara as well, so I think he's right up.
Mm.
Sure, I think he's right up Sean
Ticks
Payton's
all
street.
Sean
Oh, yeah,
This
Payton's
Sean
big,
Payton
boxes.
will
Yeah,
love
this
that.
big
Yeah,
running
yeah.
back that just
who can catch
blazes
and you can
through
play him out.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We've got Gary picking next.
With the way this has panned out, this was again another one of those picks that just like, oh come on, this is just fallen perfectly. Pick 21, the Pittsburgh Steelers get their QB of the future. They take Shador Sanders, QB, Colorado, because it's fallen for them. They need a QB. They're the only team pre the Derek Carr injury, other than the Titans, that were in the market for a QB. There's not that great QBs out there this year. The Jets might take Dart. It's a bit of a weird one. I'm hearing that, but at 21 in this draft, Shador Sanders is there. The Steelers snap the commissioner's hand off to get that pick in.
Lovely, lovely. Do you think they pair him with a vintage aged Aaron Rodgers for the
God
season?
no.
Uh,
God no.
uh,
Please put that man in his dark cave and never let him come back out.
remember what I said about hourglasses earlier?
Do you know? In fact,
Yeah.
I was speaking about where to put Aaron Rodgers earlier, and I'll say again that was the much nicer version of what I said.
I
Yeah.
have a lot of suggestions.
Lots of places that he
None
can
suitable
go.
for here.
No, but
Next
no,
up,
none of them are suitable for the NFL. Let's be honest.
No.
none. Well, I'll get the podcast cancelled if I started dropping some of these out there. And much as I'm not asked about me, I don't want to do it to you guys. Next up, Chapman's pick. Now, Chapman obviously has just dipped, so I'll drop this one, and then Meg, if you want to bring in Ollie's, have you got the sheet up for Ollie?
Nope.
No,
I have.
okay.
I got it.
So I'll do one, you do the other. Gary?
Yep. Go for it.
Okay, so with the 22nd pick, the LA Chargers select Kenneth Grant, DT, the Michigan Wolverines.
The wrong Wolverine.
Really? The wrong one. He's gone there.
Colston Loveland's on the board. I would have got.
Yeah, Colston Loveland is like
I've got to
you're
think
taking.
that he's taking Colston
Harbaugh's
Loveland if
taking
he's on the
Loveland.
board there at 22.
Yeah,
I'm not. I don't
absolutely.
have a problem with Kenneth Grant. Again, absolute monster. Tackle. I think he's a really good player. And he won't last much longer on the board if he's there much longer. But I think at 22, knowing how Harbaugh is, I think he's going Loveland there if it's available to him.
100%.
That is a
100%.
match made in heaven for that would be a match made in heaven for someone like Colston Loveland.
Wouldn't it be just?
But either way, I think for both of them, going back to be with the man himself in Jim
Still
Howard.
going to choke their way out of the playoffs like they always do.
Totally. The Chargers are still going to charge her, but
the Chargers are the Michigan Wolverines because they didn't choke the way out of the playoffs last year. I'll have you know.
No, I'm obviously talking about the Chargers.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. We've got no problems here then.
Justin Herbert overrated.
Gary, do you want to
pick
come in?
23. Ollie for the Green Bay Packers pick Shamar Stewart, defensive end at Texas A&M.
To be fair, I had him going higher, but
that's Ollie's pick, not mine. It's not who I would expect the Packers to be taking.
I think Donovan Ezaraku is a better fit for what Green Bay need. They need a slight. Shamar Stewart's great. He's great upright, but I just think Green Bay need a little bit more mobility, and I wonder whether someone like Shamar Stewart, who's been Southern and all his life, I wonder whether coming out of Boston, whether Donovan would suit the colder weather as well. But I think, the position is right. Yes, they need an edge. That's great. I just think the upright of Shamar Stewart being as big as he is, I think they might suit the mobility of Ezaraku as a preference, but it's not the worst pick in the draft.
Yeah. I have some thoughts on this, but first we'll get 3/4 of the way through. Send it to Meg with the Minnesota Vikings. Take it away.
So with the 24th pick, the Minnesota Vikings pick Nick Emanwari, safety from South Carolina. Again, I actually don't have much hate for the Vikings and where they're at right now. I think that the Vikings are a bit like what we're saying with the Chargers. The Vikings Viking time and time again. They get so far and then they just kind of lose whatever momentum that they seem to have. I think they had a lot of promise last season with so many of their players. I think they absolutely screwed over Darnold a bit there, personally. And I think, again, as safety, one of the better choices left on the board, to be fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially with Cam Bynum leaving and going and the
Yeah.
Colts, kind of having a versatile safety.
I think in reality
really
they
help
don't
them.
take him here, but I think they
Yeah.
do end up taking him because I
Yeah.
think he is the best player that they need right now, and I think it's a good pick for them. I just
I
don't think
think,
they're picking him at 24.
yeah, I
Mm.
think it goes back to the same thing we said about the Patriots at 4. You know, they only have 4 picks for the entire draft. They need more picks. I think in a perfect world, they would like that is the first point I've got for a team like Cleveland or the Giants coming back into
Back ahead.
round 1 for
Mm.
Jackson Dart. That's that
Yeah.
first spot at
Mm.
24 because I think really the Vikings are desperate for actual amount of picks. They've only got 4.
Yeah.
I think they have got to be the first team that you've got to expect to move backwards and possibly right out the round. So,
Yeah.
you know, they probably don't make that pick at all. But I also see what Meg says. They do need a safety, and whether Iman Warrior's there at the beginning of the second, don't know. But, it might be that a case of they take him there.
Yeah. I'm going to deposit here potentially that if Shamar Stewart is still on the board at 23, well, it is falling down at that point in
Falling to
time.
23. Yeah.
I think the
Think the
Jim
Lions make a
Harbaugh and
move?
the LA Chargers get a phone call from Detroit, Michigan.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
if the Green Bay Packers are about to take Shamar Stewart, or even whoever's there, whoever the best edge is on the board, I don't think just going off the way Brad Holmes was drafted in the past, if he hears someone's after the guy that he wants and they fall, look what happened with Terry and Arnold last year.
Mm.
Terry and
Yeah.
Arnold fell. They knew he was going to go within that next couple, so they got ahead. So I'm not saying I expect outright. I'm just saying it would not surprise me if by the time the Steelers are handing in their card, 313 isn't showing up on the Chargers' phone.
Mm.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents on that one. I would also say though that if they are dead set on taking someone there and whoever they see on their board, they know they're not going to go much further, and they don't want to go all the way back to 28. I potentially think that calling up someone like the Broncos right there, because Amari and Hampton will drop another few spaces and
Yeah.
potentially fall to 28, just based on need, just based on whether those teams will or won't take a running back, and I don't think any of those necessarily will. So you could have 28 and still be safe with Amari and Hampton.
Yeah. But
So
do the Lions have enough to trade up for that? Do they have enough to give the Broncos?
I would. It depends if you want to go into FDM picks mode, and again, this could be the case. But I think as kind of a point B to this is where you are going to see. I personally think.
I think the top
phones
15,
start
20, you're
bring-
probably going to be set in order, but I think that's when things
No.
start to get interesting.
But
Yeah.
this like I say, but this is where I also think phones start ringing, and as
Yeah.
you said, these are points where if you're a Browns fan, or I don't know, any of those teams with a decent bit of capital there up at the top, who may be after a particular someone who late day one, early day two, this is where if you're a fan of one of those teams, don't necessarily go to bed yet because you
Yeah.
may see your team come up
Yeah,
on the
if you're
bottom
picking
there.
early second and there's a player there, and as I said on the last week, you you take the shot for that 5th-year option of your first round draft. At the end of that first round, as
I
Nick
wouldn't be
says, the
surprised if we
Browns
see
come
some of
back
these
to
players
dart.
who are still, uncertain on wherever their team is at the moment. Like are about like, you know, Brandon Ayuk potentially. Like, is he one that could
He's
potentially
not playing this
be?
season. He's not playing this season.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So it's like it's interesting, and there's still some guys in the league who haven't signed with the team, or you know, having contract disputes and what have you. I mean, the most paramount one's Michael Parsons. He's not going to leave Dallas, obviously not, but still, that would be a crazy one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tom, sorry, Fletch. Tom, can I just get you on Tyler Booker? Because on my board behind me, I've got both Gray Zabel and Donovan Jackson ahead of Tyler Booker. Now,
Mm,
early on in the draft process in the new year, sort of January, Feb time, yeah, Tyler Booker was right up there. He dropped a little bit. He had a poor combine. Now, we've talked on the college podcast about you watch the tape, don't take the combine as being the be all and end all, because it's the
Yeah.
tape for an entire season that you
Yeah.
use as your primary focus. But I just think I was quite curious more than anything as to why both Gray Zabel and Donovan Jackson, who I had, you know, me personally have got him above Tyler Booker.
Yeah.
He got picked. You picked him ahead of those two.
Yeah,
That was all it was.
I think it was just more when I was researching it anyway, it was just more like the pass protection aspect. Like
Yeah.
that was why he was like a more well, he was, you know, the way I was looking at it, he was a really polished pass protector. And then the way I just thought about it with Sam Darnold, and I was like, they need if he's going to succeed, he's going to have an offensive line that is able to actually protect him. So that was that was the only reason I went with
No,
Booker
fair enough.
over those
Yeah.
guys.
Okay,
All right.
so last quarter of the draft, we're into the final stretch. Meg, take us away.
Yeah, so at 25th pick, I have the Houston Texans taking Colston Loveland, tight end from Michigan. Now, obviously, bit controversial in terms of injury. I know that has he had the surgery? Is he getting the surgery? The doctors, his
Pretty sure he's
doctors
had the
wrote,
surgery.
I think he had it, didn't he, just before the combine or just after? His doctors wrote to all the teams basically saying, we almost guarantee he's going to be fit for pre-season. Don't let it kind of cloud your judgment on him. I feel like had he not been requiring that surgery, I might have looked at him a bit earlier in the draft. Personally, I know that he says that the doctors have said that he's fine, but yeah, I think he is a good choice for the Texans. I think padding the team out for future as well. They've got some real decent weapons there already. If they don't trade out that pick, I think Colson Loveland would be a decent shout for them.
Yeah. Colston Loveland falling that far would be a dream to give CJ Stroud some more weapons. He's been, I do not have a bad word to say about him.
Didn't they just sign their tight end to an extension though?
Yeah, was that? Yeah, did they not sign Dalton Schultz to a
They did.
Surely
Yeah.
2 years
extension, right?
extension, didn't they?
And the
So,
fact that they've just got rid of Laramie Tunsil, I would say that left tackle
they're going
Yeah,
tackle.
left
Yeah.
tackle
much
was
bigger need.
screaming out at them,
You know,
to be fair.
at 25, I would say left tackle was probably a much bigger need than tight end.
Yeah. Who's still left on the board? Connolly?
Connolly's on the board.
Kelvin Benjamin still on Kelvin Banks even. Is he still on the board?
Kelvin Banks Jr. Banks
is
Jr.
on the board. Yeah.
Yeah, Kelvin Banks Jr. would be the pick there, then I would suggest.
Yeah, that would be a good pick.
Not to say that yours is a bad pick, Meg.
That's true.
We're just kind of spitballing. But also notice that we're getting close to Meg's time as well, I think.
Yeah. So let's
Okay, so with the next pick, this was a fun one to read when it came through. Ole takes for the LA Rams, Jalen Milroe, quarterback, Alabama. We have a third quarterback off the board, gents. And
No.
it's Jalen Milroe.
No.
No one said his name yet. We spoke about Jackson Dart. We've not spoke
Yeah.
about Jalen Milroe, and there he goes.
I think the Rams have got bigger needs than QB.
Rams are taking a wide receiver.
Yeah, either a wide receiver or a cornerback or a linebacker. I think they're those three big needs that they have ahead of. You know, I don't. Yes, they will probably take a quarterback later on in the draft. Maybe someone like Dylan Gabriel in round 4 or something, possibly.
Riley Leonard somewhere back there. Yep.
Yeah, someone like that. But I think this high, this early, they're not going QB. They've got too many needs elsewhere.
yeah.
Just for clarification, because we don't often get look, with the fact that they're not in, we're not getting much weigh in from Ollie and Sam. There was a slight conversation, I guess, between the both of them as and when this pick came through. So I think it's only fair that I bring it. Ollie's justification was some men just want to watch the world burn. To which
Fair.
Sam's response was,
Fair.
as a
That sounds
Rams
like a
fan,
Meg kind of pick for the
Uh,
Saints then. Right.
yeah. So Sam then weighs in, obviously, as our resident Rams fan, who says, "I don't hate the pick." At the end of the day, I think they've got a Stafford's future long term is definitely in doubt. Short term, a bit less in doubt, but still in a little bit of doubt. He was potentially being shipped off earlier this year, so you don't know what's going to go on over there, securing that future and again that 5th-year
Not the
option.
worst pick in the world, but as Nick says, I mean, I think they're picking a bit more need there, and I think Burden is possibly going there because that would be a nightmare for other. That would be a nightmare for defensive coordinators to work out who to cover.
So,
Sorry, guys, I'm going to have to dip.
no worries.
So thanks for having me.
Welcome to the team, Meg.
Thank you.
See you
Can't
soon.
wait to see the
See you
rest.
later.
Bye.
No worries. And then Chapman comes in with Malachi Starks, safety, Georgia, on behalf of
Top
the
pick.
Baltimore Ravens.
I think that's a good pick. They do
Great
need
pick.
they need a safety. He's on my board. He's the second best safety out there after Iman Wari's gone in this draft anyway. So it's a solid pick.
Do they need a safety? The Ravens.
I think they do.
They
need
got
a
Carl
safety.
Hamilton.
I've only got one.
One of
They
the
need
best
two.
safeties
They
in
need
the
two
game.
safeties back there.
Yeah, like Gary said, they've only got the one. They haven't really got safety depth. And if they weren't going safety, I'd be looking at corner anyway. So they need
corners.
one of those
definitely-
defensive backs. I think is where
100%.
Baltimore need some assistance.
Okay. Then next up, we nearly had a forfeited pick. Kind of did. Gary.
Kind of did. With
Couldn't be
the
arsed.
28th pick, the Detroit Lion picked Donovan Ezeriku. Thanks for picking that guy. No chance of saying his name correctly. Defensive end at Boston College. Ezeriku. Jalen Walker being out, I'd have probably, if I actually had made that pick, I'd have taken Walker for the Lions right there because he's there. And I think positional, the flexibility would have provided. But Ezeriku gives you your edge. You've got Hutchinson, who's still coming back. You need a bit of depth on your edge. He's a great edge blocker. He sets the run. He sets the corner very well. It's a solid pick for the Lions, who are pretty stacked. So they're picking best player or needs at this point.
Fletch,
if they haven't gone
speaking of
F
the
these
Lions,
picks and traded up.
Is Zadarius Smith is he still on the Lions?
No. So Zadarius Smith was cut.
Oh, he was cut. Oh, okay.
There's still the potential for him to come back. And that's something that I believe is in the works. We'll see what happens. But Zadarius Smith was cut.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I get a pick then, definitely.
Yeah. That was also just to kind of just state there, that wasn't a well thought out, well constructed pick. That was a shit. Something needs to be put in here. Quick.
Quick. Yeah. And Sam's pick probably came in super quick as soon as that went in because Sam
100% it did.
Pick 29 of Washington Commanders trying to steal in and take Jalen Walker, linebacker defensive end from Georgia.
I can't see him being this
he's
low.
Never going to be there.
He's never going to be on the board this low.
He's not going to be there,
No,
but great pick if he is
there. Yeah. I mean, as I say, if I pick the 28th pick and Jalen Walker was still there, that's who was going to the Lions. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. We haven't sat here. To be fair, if you take everyone's pick in reflection, none of us have all sat here and at the same time gone, that pick is absolutely ridiculous. There's been a few ones where we've said, well, I might have done this or I might have done that. But nobody across the board has gone, that pick is absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah.
And yet we're getting all the way down to the end and we're going, well, I can't see him being there. But we're not complaining.
But we're not saying he wouldn't.
So
Where would he have gone?
Yeah. I think to be fair, though, to someone like Jalen Walker, his name was brought up. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least early in that second quarter of
he was brought up in like
13,
after the
12,
top
13
10 picks.
I had him at 8.
Yeah.
So to be fair to what you are saying there, no one sat there and gone, whoa, that's wholly egregious. But at the same time, we have still had from this point, well, I would have taken Jalen Walker there 3 picks later. Well, I would have at least
Yeah.
taken Jalen Walker
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
there 5 or 6 picks later.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Very
Jalen
true.
Walker is still here. So
Yeah.
we have had a bit of one of them. And this isn't obviously, look, at the end of
It's
the day,
more likely
I
for
can't.
the pick that Meg made to be at 28 than Jalen Walker is to be at 28, I would say.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I will drop one more thought on this after we've done this bit when we
Yeah.
can. So I will announce that the 30th pick to the Buffalo Bills was Trey Amos, cornerback, Ole Miss.
Yeah, they need corners to be fair. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they've got Christian Bamford, but then and he's really good. Like when he's on the field, he's really good. But
Yeah. And
how
what?
often is he going to be on the field? Because he gets injured quite a lot.
Yeah.
And they're on the corner. I mean, I
So
think they finally got rid of Kyer Elam, right? Because I mean, it feels like he's still getting burned by Patrick Mahomes every single game that
Every single week.
the
Yeah.
Chiefs
Trey
play the Bills.
Amos, the
So,
Bills kind of need a CB2, as an outright
mm,
CB2, and Trey Amos is the best CB2 on the board. The Trey
Yeah.
Amos is the best CB2 in the draft. This is what the Bills need, and I think the fact that he's there is a really, really, really. I'm not gonna say fortunate. I think it's feels
mm.
like a pick that's just about right on both sides of the ball. Trey Amos probably does fall about this far, but also the Bills kind of find someone that they they
Will
get a
fit
solid
their
pick for that.
scheme. It'll fit well in,
Yeah,
but yeah, it'll
yeah.
fit
In
Buffalo's scheme very well.
luckily so far, apart from quick, let me throw a pick in here for the Lions. No one's actually picked for their team up until this point. Tom,
Yeah.
cheesesteak.
So the four-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, one game away from a three-peat.
And you never
Before they
made
got
it.
blown
Start again.
before they got blown out by the Eagles. So yeah, we'll just gloss over that part. They're gonna take Josh Connolly Jr. out of Oregon. They need offensive tackle help. They need left tackle help. They obviously got Jalen Moore. I'd be interested to know what Gary thinks about that. But you need someone else as well because he's been sat behind Trent Williams the majority of the time. So getting
Yeah.
another, offensive lineman to be able to protect Patrick Mahomes so he can actually do the magical things that he can do when he's not under pressure every second of every play, is the right pick for the Chiefs, really.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer pick. Jalen Moore
Yep.
will shore that up for you if he can get on the field consistently. And that's the only concern that we've had from him. He's not played enough. He's also been behind Trent Williams, and anyone, if you're playing left tackle and you've got Trent Williams in front of you, you're going to find it hard to get on the field.
Yeah.
But even, Trent Williams this year was pretty broken from about week 6, and we still let Jalen Moore go. So, if he stays on the field, he'll do well for you. But I think you need to.
I mean, that's the thing, though. We
support.
don't even need elite, left tackle,
Yeah.
but we just need like average,
Solid. You just need
above
solid.
average, like
Yeah.
good. It was just absolutely diabolically bad last year. You got a left guard playing left tackle in the Super Bowl, trying to stop an Eagles defense that was just having a field day. So
Yeah.
And a year before, you saw it when the 49ers offensive line was shuffled around, and the Chiefs defensive line just had, made fun of it because that's what happens. You get to the Super Bowl, you're kind of patched up, and then suddenly Chris Jones gets completely unmarked on a third
yeah,
down.
I mean, yeah. How they let that happen?
Of all people,
Right.
you just let Chris Jones have a straight run at your QB. It's like, all right. But yeah, you guys need support there. You need, as you say, solid work there. Yeah.
Right. So to end the first round, Nick.
Yeah. With pick 32 here, I had quite for the Super Bowl champions, the wonderful Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you for winning that Super Bowl. I had quite a decision here because not to get it on Fletch for Trey Amos, but I would, if that pick had been mine, I would have gone with Maxwell Hairston. So as I get to 32, I'm looking and I'm thinking,
And if my aunt had
Hairston's
balls,
on
she'd
the
be my
board.
uncle.
Well, I looked and thought Hairston's on the board. They need a cornerback. So that was my first thought. But I also thought, if I'm being honest with myself, I saw Hairston going before that, and so therefore he wouldn't be there. So if I looked at the other way, I said, right, Walter Nolan's there. He can play defensive tackle. He can also play linebacker. They need both. So again, he's another player that covers two positions. Yes, he's better at one than the other, but so I purely chose him on the basis that he can give me two positions for the price of one. And so I picked Walter Nolan, defensive tackle,
I
Ole
mean,
Miss.
that's a good pick because as well, as much as the Eagles dominated the Super Bowl, since then they've been cleaned out. Like, I mean, especially on defense, it seems that they've lost some good pieces. So bringing in a player like that would definitely, obviously, they've still got Jalen Carter. I mean, the guy's ridiculous, but yeah, a pick like that would make a lot of sense.
Definitely.
Okay, so
Aaron, there we go.
there we go. That's the end of
We
the
are
first round of the draft.
done.
Yes, we are. So just to wrap
Couple
up,
of sliders. As you say, Jalen Walker is a slider. I thought will probably not go where we said he'll go.
Yeah.
I don't think Milroy's going first round.
no,
It's interesting that he's going to the draft, but he's going to be one of those. The camera's going to be on him as he gets to round 31, 32, and he's going to be like, "Fuck, am I staying in Wisconsin tonight for?" It's an odd one, unless somebody like Nick says trade back in right at the end of the first just to go. We'll take him. We'll get the 5th-year option on it. It's a bit of a project,
Yeah.
maybe, but yeah.
right. Very, very sorry. Little bit of a tech issue here at the HQ. Now, good for you all. If you are watching on YouTube, you might just be able to catch the corner of my washing pile that's built up over the Easter weekend. Lucky you. No, they're not for sale. So just
Somebody's
luckily
getting on Vinted tomorrow.
yeah, Vinted. Yeah, right.
More like OnlyFans. Yeah.
Find my spicy accounts in the links below. So we've got to the end of the draft. We've seen Walter Nolan. Where are we? What are our overall thoughts? I guess on first on that last 8. What are we happy where we at? I know there was some good talk about Malachi Starks to the Ravens. I know we're all quite happy with that pick. There was mention I think Josh Connolly to the Chiefs everyone kind of just seemed to go, right, yeah, that sounds about right. Anything out there that you felt was, I'm not saying egregious, but how are we feeling about those last few?
No, we touched on probably the fact that Jalen Milroe's not going to go to the Rams this high. They're going to concentrate elsewhere. And like I said, I would have maybe at 30 for the Bills picked Hairston other than Amos. But other than that, I think considering who's on the board and considering who's picking and what their needs are, I think that the end of that draft, that last sort of 6 of the draft just sort of flowed quite easily because they were all needs and needs compared to who's on the board.
Fletch, have you heard this thing about Jameson Williams?
What's he done now?
What about Jameson Williams?
No. It says league execs believe Detroit might trade Williams, according to Albert Breer.
Yeah, so this is something that's been floating around Detroit media for about 2 months.
Oh, okay.
It's believed that the Lions are open to using Jameson Williams as a trading piece, or as a piece to get up in the draft. Maybe how realistic that is, how true that is, nobody really knows. But the one thing with rumor is, even though rumors can generally stick around, if it sticks around quite a bit, either a lot of people are making it up at the same time, or there's a little bit of something in there.
There's something about it.
However much it is, and look, we all know that there's an NFL exec who could have a conversation with he could be having a conversation on the phone at home, and it could be something as just simple as, well, just see what they take for what Jameson Williams being thrown in there would do when their kid
Yeah.
walks off to school the next day and goes, "Oh, Daddy's trading away for
Yeah, yeah,
Williams,"
yeah, yeah.
and
True,
then
true.
that kid goes
Then
home
it's a
and
rumor, and
you know
it's yeah.
Yeah, and
it's
then it
you know how it.
builds, and then it's yeah,
So there
100%.
may be something in there. There may be some. There may not. I think.
It was only the only reason I brought it up is because it's brought up by Albert
Yeah, yeah,
Breer, and he's pretty well established within the industry.
yeah. But
Does too
as
many MMQB and everything. So
I think there's some truth to it. What that truth is, I don't know. And whether it's just there have been phone calls, his name's come up, um, from the Lions side and just said, "Look, would you be interested?" That would probably be the best thing to believe at the moment is
yeah, yeah, that's fair enough.
his name's been thrown out there, and how serious those conversations are well, they're to be
To be determined. It's much
Yeah.
like John Lynch saying, we'll answer the phone. Every
True.
single person. It's his standard stock answer when somebody
Yeah.
asks him, are you cut for trade or is XYZ available?
Yeah.
We'll always listen to every phone call. We'll always answer
Yeah.
the phone.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean he'll pick up the phone and go, fuck off. This
Yeah,
guy's not
yeah,
shit.
yeah, yeah,
But
very true.
he's never going to say no to that. And that sounds to me like one of those kind of.
Yeah, it probably is one of those sort of
Well,
things.
And also, how much is Jameson Williams going to get?
Well, I
Or,
mean,
he's got a lot of baggage coming with him. He's got speed as well.
He's
Goodness
also
me.
some
got
of the
speed and explosiveness like nobody.
some of that baggage is I would sit there and say it's these are a couple of one-off
Mm,
incidents. Um, maybe
Hang on,
and
the
I
Lions were systemically bad at gambling on site. Come on, that's not a one-off incident.
but okay with that one, but the others are generally one-off. But and again, understanding who he is and where he comes from and how he kind of likes to be, he's someone who, look, I kind of get these as either one-off incidents or just kind of they come with just being quiet and liking to be out at night.
Yeah.
I
mm,
don't think he is a particularly. There's nothing about him that I would sit there and say he's a problem.
yeah.
It's just he just seems to find himself in places where problems are. But that's something that maybe
Yeah.
needs to be spoken to him about saying don't be in these places. But yeah, whatever it is not something that I'm particularly concerned about, and I've never once sat there
Okay.
and thought we need him out the building because he's not what he brings to the team. It's
Yeah, yeah.
um
100%.
But I mean, I've said this on the pod before. I was one of the things I truly believe is every GM who's worth their weight in gold at least makes phone calls or at least sends emails, no matter how serious they are. When a player like just using Miles Garrett as the example, when Miles Garrett was available, that's the best defensive player in the league. You are stupid if you don't at least ask how much,
Yeah,
even if you
yeah,
know you can't
100%.
afford it. Like you got a tenner in your pocket, you at least
Mm,
say how much are you willing to take for it. Probably can't afford it. You at least ask.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what Washington did with QBs, didn't they? Because
yeah,
the Stafford to Rams trade got all put, all dealt with and behind the scenes and everything else, and no one had a chance to get in. And so,
Mhm.
following the next year, the Commanders went ringing around everybody. Is a QB available? And everyone's taking the Michael out of them because they rang the
mm,
Chiefs and saying, "Is Patrick Mahomes available?" Well,
yeah.
obviously Patrick Mahomes isn't available, but you're not. But
But you're
if
not going to
you're
know
not
that until you
doing
pick
your
up the phone and
job,
ask.
mm.
yeah, if you don't go and ask,
Yeah.
you're not doing your
I feel
job
like that's
properly.
just a stupid question to ask because he's never going to be available. Like,
No, but
No,
that's
But that's due
yeah, but then
diligence,
on the
right?
next day,
yeah, true.
if he has a fallout with somebody, and
Mm,
they walk away with four first rounders and two second rounders for him, and the Washington are going, well, we didn't get involved in that because yes,
mm,
it's ludicrous that anybody, whether they're the Chiefs or whether they're whoever, are going to get rid of Patrick Mahomes. You're not doing your job, and you're not doing your due
yeah, true.
diligence if you don't ring and ask, is he available?
I mean,
Mm,
like I
What
say,
would it take for Jalen Hurts to be
Yeah,
traded from the Eagles right now?
and it,
Someone's going to turn around and go,
it's a good
draft
question,
day
really.
esque. I want your first round this year, next year, the year after, and the year after that, you pancake eating mother. That kind
I've
of.
got
There's
to
going to be
watch
that.
that this week.
You've got to watch it. No? It's
I
the
watch it
law.
every week before.
It's the law.
Yeah,
Has
I
to be
watch it
done.
I watch it every week before draft, so I
Mhm.
need to watch it this week.
So, but again, I also like to it's at least asks the
Who
question.
went to Bo Callahan's birthday?
Yeah, best less said about who was on Bo Callahan's team, I think.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's at least ask the
There's a reason
question.
why no one is at his parties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being said, those are the last few. Again, are we happy with generally who's gone in that first round? Is there
Yeah.
is there anyone off this board right now who you think should not be getting on a like? Let's pretend it's the draft. It's very late on Thursday night. Any player who's been picked is now done hugging the mum and dad and hugging the girlfriend and all that sort of stuff. They're now prepping to fly out in the morning to whoever's picked them. Is there anyone whose name's been said today who should not be getting a passport ready?
I mean, it's probably
So-
the main one is Jalen Milroe, isn't
Jalen
it?
Milroe.
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one that sticks out.
If it's not him, it's Scorton. You picked
Yeah.
Scorton. If it's not, I wouldn't have him in the first round. I'm very
No
sorry.
way.
You know,
Right,
No way.
right, but
that's probably the
Yeah.
one guy who's stolen a pick.
Stolen
yeah, he
first
probably
rounder.
has stolen the space at the first day of the draft. But I got to wind Chapman up some way. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just
No,
glad
Jalen
that-
Milroe is the only one that, well, Skirton as well, but
Yeah.
Milroe is the highlight name
Mm.
that's like, how did he go first? Over some better passing QBs, better pocket QBs.
Jackson Dart.
And I think, there is a lot of talk about Dart jumping up and suddenly his draft stock coming up. So I think Milroe is a day two.
Did
But-
Luther Burden go?
No,
Luther Burden
he should have gone to the Rams.
He
Should have
could
gone
have
to the
gone in
Rams.
round one as well. So he's one that I would have thought.
Egbuka didn't go either.
Egbuka should have gone.
No one-
Egbuka, I should say, Egbuka should have gone to the Cowboys. Burden should go to the Rams.
So, right, okay. So, with that in mind, again, I think on Wednesday
Don't
night,
worry,
the
I've got
best thing,
4 more drafts this week. The joke.
the best, I think, what we're going to be doing on the college football pod on Wednesday night, so out Thursday, is I think our main focus is going to be some of the guys who will be available on day 2, and day 3, because this is, I think, where our bread and butter is. We'll leave the first round here for today. But one thing I will say is, I think with every single draft, after watching these now for so many years, and I know that between us, we all have a lot of years worth of draft experience when we cumulative. There's always a player who falls, and there's always a player who's reached on. There's always that one player there's always that one player who's a steal, and one who's like just jaw-droppingly goes where they do. That's kind of happened today on a few different occasions, and we can all sit there and disagree, but you know what? These are the conversations that we'll be having on Friday morning anyway. And if you're still stuck with us, these are the conversations that we'll be having on Thursday night itself in the AAW Discord. Head to the link in the bio, join our Discord, and we'll be on a voice channel watching the draft together, which would be really, really nice if you can join us.
If you want to watch a live watch along, the Patriots Touchback podcast will be doing a live watch along. There will be me and Carl, who's obviously on Heard on the Line as well. We will be doing a live watch along, so you can come and join the Patriots Touchback podcast for all 4 hours, and we will give you our insights as to what is happening and where it is.
And in other AAW Network news, the Patriots Touchback will be hosting a live watch along on YouTube. If you would also like to join in there, in which myself and a couple of others may end up jumping on and giving some of their thoughts on at the time. And also in non-AAW news, the good teams win, kind of AAW news, good teams win, great teams cover. They've just put out their full first round draft, in which a few of us, including, I believe, Tom.
Yep.
Tom was just in there. Part 2's just been put out. Myself and Tom are in the parts. Are in part 2.
I've just joined the mastermind thing as well, Fletch.
And okay. Well, don't dob them in too much at the moment. Yeah. And then I know there are a couple others who were on the first half of that draft as well. So go and check that out, and hopefully one of us will be joining. A couple of us will be joining them on the night as well. Really, really nice. And yeah, come give us a follow. Head to the link in the bio. as always. And if you want to get your fix of day 2 and day 3, people, come over and see us on the College Football UK podcast. Also on AAW Network. And then next week, we'll obviously be covering the draft on both pods. See you next week.
Take care, Lex. We'll see you later.